Welcome to part 2 of the Kentucky in Session. If you haven't seen part 1, there will be a link for that in the description below. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's show.
Swear to God, I'm almost ready.
Day 2 out in Kentucky. Yesterday we had an awesome day. We got up, found a bunch of beds, found some really good hub scrapes, found quite a few antlers, 4 total, and we decided to hit another area today, just a brand new area. We're gonna go in and just hit as many hubs as we can and look for good hub scrapes, and if we find good hub scrapes, we'll work up through the bedding and try to figure out exactly how to access that and how we can target those deer and find weaknesses. So we're gonna head in, do a 5 or 6 mile loop and see what we can come up with. So we just worked in off some ag fields, and the ag runs north-south. There's a bunch of eastern facing hubs to the west side of the ag field, and we picked the second one. We're gonna go check them all, but we picked the second one to start, and we're coming up through here. We're only 50 to 70 yards from the field, and there's already a scrape in the bottom. And a lot of people would probably put a camera on that, and it's not a terrible idea, but we're gonna keep pushing in further and try to find the hub scrape. If we can find that, then we'll locate beds. But this is typically what you'll see if there's a good buck inhabiting one of these. You'll see that scrape line run down the bottom of these, and he's gonna wanna enter this ag from the lowest spot possible, not from like dropping off the ridge where he's gonna make a bunch of noise right here. So he can sneak down through here and kind of get a idea of what's going on in the ag before he pops out. So to hunt this, you could hunt that if he's daylighting here, but there's a good chance that he's making it here after dark. And that's why we're gonna push in further and try to get some intel from further up into this hub system. So we're working our way up through this drainage, and it's been scrape after scrape after scrape, like 10 of them now, roughly 10 scrapes so far. And we get to this one, and this one's worked a little bit better. It's got some imprints where it's dug into the ground where you can tell it's been here for a long time. A couple little licking branches, and then a little signpost rub. I don't think that this is the hub scrape by any means. I think that's further in. But what I like about putting a camera here is as we're accessing this spot, we can check this camera, and we're probably gonna have any deer that hits that hub scrape hit this. We can check this camera on the way in, and we'll have real-time intel of what's been hitting this, you know, throughout the week or whatever it is. So we can come in and say, okay, yeah, the last 2 days he was in here for sure. Let's work our way in. Or we can say, hey, he's not here anymore. Let's just bail out and go to the next hub and hunt that. Maybe he hopped over the backside of the ridge and he's over on that next one. So I'd rather check a camera here as opposed to check a camera exactly where we want to hunt on kill day. It's just less, you know, noise when we're actually up there where we want to set up. So we're gonna plop a camera down here, and then we're gonna continue in and see if there is a hub scrape, and at least mark that, and maybe even put another camera up on it. But I don't want to miss the opportunity of getting that intel as we're accessing this spot, because we're gonna come right down this drainage. The wind will typically on a west be doing this, and it's gonna be pushing our scent right out. So if you look up here, there's a point, and I think that he's gonna be bedded somewhere around that point, and he's gonna drop down. And there could be a hub scrape there, or this could be the hub scrape. It just depends, but I'm assuming bedding is right here or the backside of that bowl for a west wind. So we've got 2 potential bedding areas. What I like about this already is it's really thick. There's a ton of beach in here, so he's not gonna be able to see us down here at all. I mean, if he's bedded 100 yards away, you're golden, and we could set up anywhere. So there's a good chance we kill him here. There's a good chance we check this camera and it gives us the intel to move in further and actually get the kill shot. Hey Chris, you wanna stand in that scrape real quick? That looks pretty good. All right, so we just made it back into the hub. We put a camera on that other scrape, and as we're coming down through here, you can see where these deer have been jumping these logs. We get in here, and there's a hub scrape right where it should be. The branches are all tore up and twisted up, and we're gonna put a camera here as well. Reason being, he could be coming down and going to the ag field, and we can catch him doing that, or he can be coming down and then going up and hitting some of these white oaks on this flat, which could be what he's doing come September. So my thought process with hunting this spot is we'll access from the bottom, from the ag field. We'll check that first camera. If he's daylighting even weakly on that camera, we'll set up there on the west wind. But if he's not, we'll continue to stalk our way into here, and we'll come in and check this camera. And if he's on this camera, going over to the white oaks, he's still dead, and we can set up right here at 10 or 15 yards, kill him coming down off the bed. It's really choked out in here. It's really thick. There's a lot of beech. So I think that he's bedded somewhere up there in those fallen trees, and he's gonna come down here. So we're gonna put a camera on this. We're gonna look around at some white oaks and try to figure out exactly where the nearest one is in relation to the bedding. And then we're gonna kind of push up on the ridge and go look at the bedding a little bit. So we just hung that camera down on the hub scrape below. And so we verified that there's a really good hub scrape here. And the next step for me was to verify a food source. Down in that hub, there's a big white oak. And that's gonna be pretty much the first food source that he's gonna hit when he drops down off these beds and checks that scrape. So we found a tree that we can set up in to shoot the trail leading to the ag field and to shoot that white oak. And we don't even need to check that camera. We'll just throw a sit at this. So that hub scrape's there. The next step for me is to find the trails leading to and from bedding. And generally you have an idea that they're gonna be bedded on the leeward slopes. So in this case, for a south or a west wind, we're looking at the north facing point or the east facing point. So that's exactly what we did. We walked up the hub a little bit further and we saw a trail dumping down the ridge from this north facing point that's right on the end of the hub. So now we're up here, and the whole goal of that is to identify a couple of beds, but really the biggest goal is to identify the bed that's closest to being able to see our access and our tree stand set up on the way in. And that's what we just did. We came in here and there's not a lot of cover around, so this tells me it's not a mature deer, but there's a bed right here. So I want to be in this bed about the level that the deer would be, down low. And if I look down there, right now I can barely see that bottom, but as soon as we have all the leaves and greenery again, there's no chance that that deer can hear or see us. We'll be able to access up that drainage and get set up without any sort of deer, without any deer being able to identify that we're down there at all. So I think this is a perfect setup. It sets up great for a kill sit, and we're definitely gonna hunt here early season. So we worked down this ridge just a little bit further from that satellite bed. We get right here on this little point that juts out, and here's the king's bed. So he's laying here on any sort of south or southwest wind, and he can observe this whole hub system. He's got a rub right here in the bed. And so he's laying here, he's making some rubs, and then we could see the tracks going over a log and hitting another fresh rub, and then it hits that trail that dumps down the hill. So this deer's bedded here. He's gonna get antsy and wanna hit those white oaks down there. He's gonna hop down, hit that rub, catch that trail, go down and hit the hub scrape, and we're gonna be waiting on him. So the hub scrape in our kill tree is 205 yards away from this bed. And so he's gonna work his way down and hit that. And I don't think that the hillside travel necessarily matters towards daylight movement. I think that he starts his internal clock when he gets down in the bottom of how far he wants to travel, because he feels safe up here. So I think that he'll travel the 120 or 130 yards down to that bottom and make it that 50 to 70 yards that we need to kill him, no problem early season, until he gets pressured. Once he gets pressured, he might want to hit that at dark, but I think we have a couple sits at this deer and we'll have him in daylight. So we're standing in this bed right now, and this is pretty much the king buck's bed. I mean, it sets up perfect. We've got rubs here. We're 200 yards away from the hub. The way this sets up, we're in the far west side of this drainage. So we entered from the east, we're walking up the creek. It makes like a C in here and kind of a bowl, and there's a bunch of little points that jut out. This point faces north. So he's bedded on this for like a south wind, and he can oversee all of the east facing slopes and the south facing slopes. So he feels really comfortable in here because he can observe everything, or at least he thinks he can. He can't check the creek, and that's what the weakness is. So we exposed the fact that we can get into that bottom without him seeing us or hearing us, and we can kill him. But yeah, he just sits up here and feels completely safe all day because he can observe all these different slopes, and he thinks that he knows any sort of predator that would be in here.
Very smart.
Another scrape. It's not as hammered, but there still is good bedding points coming down. It'd be nice if there was a bigger scrape in here.
Yeah.
I might put one on that. Just a little one though. I mean, he's coming off of probably this bed or that bed, but it's not like destroyed at all. Yeah, let's go up and over top. I like that. So if he's here head down, that rub's only 80 yards, but he can't see that rub from here. And then even if I'm alert, I can't see that rub, and we're down in the ditch just high enough to where we can shoot that rub. So we can sneak in and get set up sub 100 yards in the wide open timber right here because of the fact that his bed isn't perfect. And he's just gonna dump right down, right 80 yards to that rub, and he's dead. So I'm thinking about it, an alert deer at the absolute highest, laying down is gonna have his head here. We're good. I don't have any problem with that. A non-alert deer's here and he's really dead. So I think that it's worth the risk to try to come in here up that drainage and get like 2 sticks high, and just, you have one shot. When he hits that rub, shoot him. I think he can die. I think he's big. That rub is that big. I mean, Corey found it. It's the biggest rub we found on the whole trip. Hands down. It might be twice the size of any other rub. So yeah, this is a target. We have a plan. We have everything we need. We got 2 cameras in. Well, we have 4 cameras in this drainage. We have 2 that are kind of focusing on this deer. So we can go down in the bottom and check that bottom cam. And if he's on it a little bit after dark, hey, he's right here. We know where we need to be, and we just start working this way. And it's a kind of a one and done thing. Big buck's bedded here, wide open timber, but there's really no cover around in this area. So we found a rub down below, a really good signpost rub. We put a camera on it, and we found a location where we could shoot that. We just verified that we can't see that rub and that camera from his bed at the position he would be in. So we'll show you guys this rub. So as he's walking down here, we're gonna see him coming. We'll hear him and then be able to see him. And I'll be drawn back right about when he's here. And then he's gonna finish this route to this rub. So we'll slow down right there and just show that little. So he's treating this a lot like a big hub scrape because there's a couple different trails, and he's gonna work this. Our camera's here, and at 18 yards, we've got our kill tree where we can work our way up this drainage, pop up a stick high, and shoot him right here, and he's gonna never detect us. I mean, it's the perfect flank, and he thinks he can see everything, and that's a weakness. That's the whole point of doing this, is to find a weakness, no matter how ridiculous it might seem, and try to pull it off. And it could work. I mean, he's probably never seen anybody come in here like this and try to approach it. So he's used to people coming in over top or staying way down on the bottom, not flanking up this little drainage. Okay, so he's probably crossing right there, but we don't want him to do this. So if he's crossing there, could you guys see us down there?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's a dead deer.
That's a dead deer.
I like how you went and checked your access. Yeah, it's really smart. So when you guys were first down there and asked if you could see us, I had to really try and peek through here and then look through all those green branches there to even try and make you out.
And that was from here.
That was from here. When I got in the bed, I really couldn't see you.
And then add the leaves.
Yeah.
Early season, I mean, it's perfect. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
This looks so open right now, and it will not.
It'll be very thick.
There's a double tree down there where you can come out of the creek and walk like 20 yards and set up on the back side of it, like 1 stick high, and you're right in the middle of a crotch of that tree. And it's like he's got 2 options: go left around the ridge or go straight down to that scrape, and you can shoot both at like 18 yards. He's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of trouble. Well, we just made our last climb up this ridge, and we're gonna head down the back side of this and go check one more hub and then head back to the truck. It's been a great weekend full of scouting. We found a ton of beds, we found some good antlers, found tons of scrapes, put out 10 cameras, and I think that we have like 4 or 5 different core areas that could really hold a good buck. So we're gonna let these cameras soak all the way from mid-March until mid-August. Cool.